Hey everybody, ready for a story wilder than a bucking bronco?
Oh, yeah.
Today we're tackling the legend of Buffalo Bill, the man who pretty much invented the image of the American West that we all know and love. But
Right.
hold your horses, folks.
Yeah.
There's more to this guy than
A lot more.
than just fancy shooting and 10-gallon hats.
Absolutely.
Right.
Buffalo Bill's story isn't just about cowboys and Indians.
Right.
It's about how one person can really shape the way a whole nation sees itself.
So we've got a whole pile of sources here.
Yeah.
We've got biographies, articles, museum exhibits, and our mission is to sift through all of them and figure out just who was the real William Cody
Right.
and how much of Buffalo Bill was pure showmanship.
And trust me, separating fact from fiction.
Right.
In this case, it's like trying to herd cats.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, good thing you're here to help wrangle this story.
I'll do my best.
So let's start before the legend was born.
Okay.
William Cody's early life is absolutely fascinating.
Yeah. Born in Iowa in 1846, moved to Kansas with his family when he was just 8.
Wow.
Right smack in the middle of that pre-Civil War fight over slavery.
Yeah, and his family were strong abolitionists,
Oh, wow.
which was pretty dangerous in that time and place.
Yeah.
His father, Isaac Cody, almost paid the price for his beliefs when a pro-slavery mob came after him.
That's right. And young Will, barely more than a kid, rode his horse to warn his father about that mob.
Yeah, talk about a trial by fire.
You can really see how these early experiences shaped him,
Absolutely.
both in terms of, his horsemanship, but also his courage in the face of danger.
For sure, his courage and his sense of justice, too.
Yeah.
And after his father's death, young Will had to grow up fast.
Right.
At just 11 years old, he started working as a wagon driver.
11 years old.
11 years old, crossing the plains, encountering Native Americans,
Wow.
getting his first taste of that frontier life.
It's almost like destiny was preparing him for the role he would play later.
Yeah, it really is.
It's wild to think about. He even met another legend in the making, Wild Bill Hickok, during those early years.
Oh, yeah?
Hickok actually protected him from a bully,
Wow.
which adds another layer to their later connection in Buffalo Bill's shows.
Right.
It's like a preview of the showmanship to come,
Yeah.
almost like a passing of the torch.
It really highlights how interconnected these figures were and how their lives became part of this larger narrative of the Wild West.
Right.
And speaking of destiny, did you know Cody even tried his luck in the gold rush of 1859?
The gold rush.
Yeah, headed out to Colorado, hoping to strike it rich.
But no gold for young Will.
Nope.
You've got to wonder how that experience, the hope, the risk, the ultimate disappointment, how that might have influenced his later career. Maybe it fueled that drive to create his own success, to become the one striking gold in a different way.
It's a great point. He wasn't just a passive participant in history.
Right.
He was actively seeking his fortune, shaping his own destiny. And that brings us to another somewhat hazy chapter.
Okay.
His supposed time as a Pony Express rider.
Okay, so this is where things get a little murky.
A little bit, yeah.
Some sources say that he was a bona fide writer. Others say he was more of a messenger or support staff.
Right.
But even if he wasn't galloping across the plains with mail bags, the image of the Pony Express was definitely a key part of his shows later on.
And it makes sense, right?
Right.
The Pony Express perfectly captured that spirit of adventure and danger and communication
Yeah.
that really defined that era.
Right. And it played perfectly into that myth he was building.
Exactly.
And then, of course, the Civil War arrives after his mother's death. Cody enlists in the Union Army. He fought in a few skirmishes. But it's really the post-war period where that Buffalo Bill persona starts to take shape.
He needed work, and the railroads pushing westward needed a massive amount of meat to feed their crews.
Right.
That's where Cody's skills as a hunter became so incredibly valuable.
So he becomes a buffalo hunter supplying meat to the Kansas Pacific Railroad.
That's right.
And get this, he was so good at it, they nicknamed him Buffalo Bill.
They did.
But hold on,
There's a twist.
there's a twist.
Turns out there was another hunter, Bill Comstock,
Huh.
who also went by Buffalo Bill.
What?
Naturally, this couldn't stand.
Oh, no.
So what did they do?
I don't know.
They had a buffalo shooting contest to decide who the real Buffalo Bill would be.
Can you imagine that showdown? 2 bills enter, 1 bill leaves.
That's right.
And of course, our guy William Cody wins, further cementing his name in Western lore. Talk about a made-for-Hollywood moment.
It's the kind of story that practically begs to be exaggerated.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened when a dime novelist named Ned Buntline got a hold of it.
Ned Buntline was a real piece of work, a muckraking journalist, a member of the anti-immigrant Know Nothing Party, and a master of sensationalism.
Yeah, he was a character for sure.
He wrote a wildly exaggerated dime novel about Cody, launching Buffalo Bill into national fame.
And that fame was a double-edged sword.
Right.
On the one hand, it opened doors, bringing Cody invitations to visit New York City.
Really?
Yeah, where he dined with the elite and even saw a play based on his own life.
Wow.
But on the other hand, it wasn't always accurate or flattering.
Right. It's like the birth of the celebrity gossip magazine only in the Wild West.
Exactly.
This newfound fame is what leads him to the stage, right?
Buttline saw the potential for a stage show and convinced Cody to join playing himself in this theatrical spectacle that brought the Wild West to life for those East Coast audiences.
So,
And it's a smash hit.
wow.
People were captivated by this real frontiersman on stage reenacting these adventures.
Yeah.
But true to form, Buttline wasn't exactly a trustworthy partner.
Oh, no.
He swindled Cody and another scout, Texas Jack Omohundro, out of most of the earnings.
Oh, man.
This is where you start to see the seeds of Cody's later business savvy.
Okay.
Getting cheated like that probably made him realize that he needed to be in control of his own destiny, his own narrative.
So he forms his own acting troupe, hits the road, and continues sharing tales of the Wild West.
That's right.
But even as he's embracing the stage, you can sense that he's searching for something more, something bigger.
Those indoor theaters they were limiting, Cody couldn't truly capture the vastness, the danger, the raw energy of the West on just a small stage. He had a vision for something grander,
Right.
something that would transport audiences right into the heart of the frontier.
Oh. Sounds like things are about to get really exciting.
They are.
And that, my friends, is where we'll pick up next time. Get ready for a show that's bigger than any stage could hold.
You got it.
Last time we left William Cody feeling a bit restless.
A little bit.
Like those indoor stages just couldn't contain the vision he had for
Right.
bringing the Wild West to life.
Exactly. He was a showman at heart.
Yeah.
But he also had this deep respect for the authenticity of frontier life, you know?
Right.
He wanted audiences to experience it, not just watch it from afar.
So in 1883, he goes big.
He does.
Really big.
Really big.
He launches Buffalo Bill's Wild West.
Yeah.
And it's not just a stage production, it's a full-blown spectacle.
Yeah. Full-blown spectacle.
Outdoor arenas, elaborate sets, real cowboys, and Native Americans.
Live buffalo reenactments of famous events from the frontier.
This wasn't just a show, it was an immersive experience.
Wow.
You know, Cody hired people who'd actually lived that cowboy life. Sharpshooters, trick riders, Native American performers.
Really?
He wanted to transport audiences to the heart of the West.
It's hard to imagine the impact that must have had on people back then.
Oh, yeah.
This was a time when the West was still largely unexplored for most Americans.
Yeah.
For many, this was their first real glimpse into that world.
It was, and it wasn't just a visual spectacle.
Okay.
Imagine the sounds, the smells, the gunpowder, the leather, the dust kicked up by the horses. It would have been a sensory overload in the best possible way.
So Cody was a master at building that excitement.
Oh, yeah.
That drama. He incorporated elements from his own life, the buffalo hunts, his encounters with Wild Bill Hickok, even the Pony Express, blurry history or not.
Right.
But he also went beyond personal stories. He did his shows, featured reenactments of famous battles, stagecoach robberies, attacks on wagon trains, all those classic Wild West tropes,
Yeah.
brought to life with real action and real danger.
It wasn't just mindless entertainment either.
No, it wasn't.
Audiences were learning about frontier life, the challenges of westward expansion, the different cultures that were clashing and converging on the frontier.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course, we have to acknowledge that the portrayal of Native Americans in these shows was complicated.
Right.
It was often romanticized, sometimes stereotypical, reflecting the prevailing attitudes of the time,
Right.
which weren't always accurate or respectful.
That's an important point. We can't look back at this through rose-colored glasses. How Native Americans were depicted in those shows was a product of its time.
Yeah.
A time when the relationship between settlers and indigenous people was fraught with conflict and misunderstanding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
On the one hand, Cody was providing this platform for Native American performers to showcase their skills and traditions to a wider audience.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, he was also perpetuating certain stereotypes
Right.
and oversimplifying their cultures.
It's a reminder that history is rarely black and white.
It really isn't.
It definitely raises questions about how we interpret history, how we separate the entertainment value from the cultural impact.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But even with those complexities, there's no denying the sheer impact that Buffalo Bill's Wild West had on popular culture.
Right.
It toured the world, playing to royalty and common folk alike,
Wow.
solidifying Cody's image as that global symbol of the American frontier.
Think about that. This former buffalo hunter turned stage actor becomes a global superstar.
It's incredible.
He's bringing the Wild West to the world, and the world is eating it up.
They are. And that raises the big question, was Buffalo Bill just an entertainer?
Yeah.
Or did he capture something deeper, something essential about the American spirit, even if it was a carefully crafted version of that spirit?
It's a question that's still debated today, right? Some saw him as a huckster, peddling a romanticized version of the West for profit. Others saw him as a folk hero, a symbol of courage, individualism, the American dream.
And there's evidence to support both sides.
Right.
He was a savvy businessman. No doubt he built an empire on this show.
Yeah.
But he was also a man who'd lived these experiences, even if he embellished them for dramatic effect.
And it's interesting that even some veterans of the Indian Wars, people who knew the harsh realities of the frontier,
Right.
defended the authenticity of his shows.
Yeah, they recognized the skills, the horsemanship, the spirit he was trying to capture.
It seems like he hit a nerve,
He did.
tapped into something people craved,
Mm,
whether it was accurate or not.
right. It speaks to the power of myth-making, how a story can take on a life of its own and shape our perceptions of reality.
So where does that leave us?
Well, he was a product of his time,
Yeah.
a complex figure who embodied both the best and the worst of that era, and that's what makes his story so fascinating to unpack.
It's a reminder that history is full of gray areas, and that trying to understand those nuances is more important than trying to force everyone and everything into neat little boxes.
Exactly, and that's why we dive deep, isn't it?
Yeah.
To get beyond the surface and wrestle with those complexities.
So what happens to Buffalo Bill after he conquers the world
Right?
with his Wild West extravaganza? Does the legend fade, or does it take on an even grander scale? All right, so let's wrap up our journey with Buffalo Bill.
Okay.
We've seen him go from Kansas farm boy to a global icon,
We have.
shaping the image of the American West along the way.
He really did.
And we've wrestled with some tough questions
Yeah.
about the man, the myth,
Mm-hmm.
and the impact he had on how we see that period of history.
Right. It's easy to judge the past through a modern lens.
Right.
But it's important to remember that Buffalo Bill was a product of his time.
Yeah.
You know, he was part of a nation grappling with westward expansion, manifest destiny, the clash of cultures on the frontier.
And whether intentional or not, he became a central figure in that narrative.
He did his shows with all their romanticized and sometimes problematic elements, offered a window into a world that was rapidly changing.
Think about it, millions of people around the world experienced the Wild West through his eyes.
That's true.
They saw the cowboys, the Native Americans, the vast landscapes
Mhm.
brought to life.
And he sparked imaginations and shaped perceptions that still linger today.
It's amazing how powerful these myths and images can be,
It is.
how they become ingrained in our culture.
Yeah, even if we've never been on a horse or seen a buffalo roam free,
Right.
we all have a certain picture of the Wild West in our minds.
And that speaks to the power of storytelling, right?
It does.
But it also highlights the responsibility that comes with it.
Right.
We've talked about how the portrayal of Native American cultures in his shows was complex and often stereotypical.
Yeah, it reflected the biases of that era. And unfortunately, those biases can have a long-lasting impact.
It's a reminder that we need to be critical consumers of history, to question the narratives we're given, and to seek out multiple perspectives.
Mm-hmm. Buffalo Bill's story is just one piece of a much larger and more intricate puzzle.
So true. To truly understand the West, we need to dig into the stories of everyone involved: the Native Americans, the settlers, the cowboys, the
Right.
countless individuals who shaped that era.
Absolutely. And we need to acknowledge the nuances, the triumphs and the tragedies, the beauty and the brutality
Right,
that coexisted on that frontier. Wasn't a simple time.
right.
And there are no easy answers.
But by wrestling with those complexities, by being willing to challenge our assumptions, we can gain a much richer understanding of history.
For sure.
That's what makes these deep dives so rewarding.
Absolutely. It's about encouraging critical thinking and informed dialogue.
So as we wrap up our exploration of Buffalo Bill, I want to leave you with this.
Okay.
We've focused on the man behind the myth. But what about the myth itself? What does it tell us about America, about our values, our dreams, our fears?
That's a great question to ponder.
The myth of the Wild West,
Mm-hmm.
the rugged individualism,
Right?
the frontier spirit. It still resonates with us today. We see it in our movies, our books, our music,
We do.
and it continues to shape how we see ourselves as a nation. So I encourage you, keep diving deeper, explore the stories, the sources, the multiple perspectives that make up this rich tapestry of American history.
There's always more to learn,
Right.
more to uncover, more to question.
That's the beauty of it.
It is.
Happy trails, and until next time, keep exploring.